You read a book and enthusiastically highlighted every sentence, but let's be honest, how many times you actually got back and reviewed those highlights? Probably not very often, if at all. The problem with highlighting is that it can create a false sense of productivity without actually enhancing understanding or retention. When I was in the school, it was extremely hard to remember for me any information, history or languages or topics like that. Like I repeated a lot of times the topics in my head, but when it was time to recall the information, the topic to a teacher, like I forgot everything totally. But now I read daily basis about different topics like history, philosophy, productivity, engineering. I speak 4 languages and I am learning 5th one. Yo hablo español. But how I went from the child that couldn't retain any information in my brain to where I am now. Let me share the techniques that transformed my learning and reading experience. Highlighting and underlining are nonsense. It might feel that you do something productive, but what's actually happening is you read the sentence, you like the sentence, you highlight or underline the sentence, and you forgot about the sentence. In short, it is such kind of procrastination for our brain, because it avoids to remember and analyze that information, because remembering and analyzing is very energy consuming operation for our brain, because it should create new neural connections. So read and think. One of the best things that you can do after finishing a chapter, just pause and start to think about the information, what you have done. Summarize it in your brain. Think about key concepts about the chapter that you have read and think about why are they important. For example, my recent trip was to Italy, Milan, and I was reading a book in the airplane, and if I will count half of the time of my flight I was reading and half of my time of my flight I was just thinking, I was just looking at one place and was just thinking about the information, how to implement it, why it was written like this, why human beings' brain works like this. You also can implement it with some good habit, like go to evening walk and instead of hearing some music or some podcast, just think about the information that you have read. Just think. It is also like you will feel like you listen some podcast or some music, you really will like it, I promise. And by doing so, you are actively practicing remembering. Connect to your own life. For example, if you are reading an Atomic Habits book, like the perfect book, so don't just read and think, okay, it is nice. Just connect the habits, the information about your life events, about your existing habits. If there's information to change the habits with a new one, so think what the habit do you have and where you can connect it and how, what time in your day, actually visualize it and connect with your old habits and events. This also will be very helpful and you will remember more the information like that. Take some notes on your own words. This forces to this information to be your own, because when you read the information that was written from other person, but when you write on your own words, the brain understands that this is your own information and it will remember and stay in your brain better and for more longer time. You can do bullet points, summarize, do whatever works best for you. Highlight. Okay, you can say I told that you shouldn't highlight. Highlight only when you don't have a time or opportunity to take notes. Just highlight when you like some points to after take notes, because if you will highlight and just forgot about it, it will be nonsense. It will give you no information. But when you highlight some notes, when I, for example, read some book in my iPad, my Kindle, or even in a physical book, it can be the next days of my trip, and then I review that information, the key points, and it helps you to also double that information. You are consuming the information double time. You're rereading it and again writing on your own words, and it sticks to your head. Share your knowledge. This is my favorite point. I like always when I read something new to share with friends, with family, with anyone else, with my colleagues. I remember a sentence from Jordan Peterson's book that told we mostly think by talking. So when you talk to someone, sometimes you even understand better and think about information better. I don't know, have you ever situation in your life, like in the work, when you had some senior engineer, if you work an engineer, or some senior experienced person, when you wanted to ask a question that you're stuck in some task and you go and explain to that person the task where you start to understand, oh, okay, no need, I already understand how to solve it. Because when you explain, you analyze and you think about the information. Believe me, whether you are with friends or you are on a date or you are on a family party, like everyone likes to listen some new interesting information, and especially if people see that you like that information, that this information is interesting for you and you have an enthusiasm for it. Like it happened always to me when I talked about engineering with a person that never heard about anything about engineering philosophy, history, and about any other topic. And the last point, of course, revisit and review your information that you wrote, like your summaries, your key points. Like give it a 5-minute, a 3-minute, instead of scrolling a new like Instagram reel. Just watch the information that you wrote and it will transform your life to the better point. Remember, the goal of reading is not just to read, is to learn, to understand, to transform the information, to study, to tell, to share. And this is how I make everything that I read, that I study, my daily basis, my daily discussions topic. If these techniques were helpful for you, so hit the like button, subscribe, and follow me on the social networks. And in the future, I will share more hacks about how to study efficiently and how to be better. I also have an article of these topics on Medium, so you can find on the description. See you on the next video.